The S&P 500, the Nasdaq 100, that's what we're discussing here on the day. Now, the action today was not great. It was nothing exciting. Didn't do too much on the day. First thing we will talk about, though, what I do want to say is, and notice some of these major levels in which we're at, okay? You can see that we kind of have broken down, get a little bit back up, something mentioned there. But you go to SPY, and I think this is a little bit more clear. You see that overall demand that we have established back in June 1st through essentially the 8th, and then we kind of bounce out of this range, out of the top of it. Not a huge surprise. Now, when we look at indexes, in particular, ES and NASDAQ, they have broken those major levels. They push down. You go over to NASDAQ, bottom of the range, you break below, 14.6, and it's essentially wraps. So the fact that we're getting a bounce here is not surprising. I do want to say that. However, right, until the end of the day, I don't think we got too much of a reaction. In particular, we look at SPY. I think you get a little bit of answers here, right? You come into like this, 431, 431.5, and you reject here all day long, essentially from 10 o'clock into the last 5 minutes of power hour in which you shoot up here a little bit. Now, I'm not going to say that you can't continue to run, you can't continue to get movement. But when we look at this week, there's some signs of concern. When we look at what the Fed is saying, there are some signs of concern. So those are things to keep in your mind. Now, before we go over any equities or stocks we're liking, I have to ask you to do two things. Consider liking and subscribing. It helps out the channel a lot. I appreciate you guys. Appreciate the continued support. The Discord link is also down below if you are interested. But I got to tell everyone, a lot of you ask questions about particular stocks or levels, get on the newsletter. Every single week we cover what's happening, with indexes, with a few in particular stocks. Tesla almost always is on there. So make sure you sign up for the newsletter, get the latest edition. You cannot get the latest edition if you're late until the next week. So make sure you're signed up. It's absolutely free. Comes out of my pocket, nobody else's. So the first thing I want to talk about, okay, we're going to go into SPY. We're going to go into QQQs and what's happening there. But first off, I want to talk about the dollar and some of the underlying things here. Something that I've been kind of talking about over the past few days and weeks is I think the dollar and oil and yields paint a picture of where we're going and how we're moving, okay? So we look at the dollar, it's basically bottomed out down there at the end of July until now, and it's just gone straight up. Now, if we look at today, you broke over local highs from March 7th, March 8th. What was this? This was the banking crisis, if you do not recall. We're higher than those levels. A little bit more information, you go into oil. Want to highlight here as well, you came into that level kind of rejecting off that little top of around 90, 91. Interesting to see there, but we want to see this kind of continues. You have PCE data as well on Friday. That's going to be important. I do believe PCE continues to track higher. Maybe it comes out of their estimations of 3.5%, but I still think PCE tracks higher month over month, which 3.5 would be higher than previous, which I believe is 3.3. So that would be higher there. Okay. The next thing and the biggest concern here on the day, this is the 30-year yield, okay? I want to highlight going to last year, October 22nd, what happened right here. This was the market bottom, right? This is essentially the market bottom on ES and NASDAQ. August 24th through basically November 10th, you had the bottom on the market, okay? And what was that telling about it? It was telling us that yields started to slow down and calm down. Now, yields are not calming down right now. They're foot on the gas, going one direction, and that's up. Now, what's important to know here? There is potentially pausing on rates, potentially could pause again, but they do expect one more rate hike, and they've continued to say that cutting rates is not on the table. Soonest possible is like the end of Q2 for 2024, which even then that would not fit into their inflation expectations or goals of 2%. Just to let you know, the Fed already says they don't see us hitting 2% until at least 2025. So these are just important things to kind of keep in the back of your mind and to understand why yields are moving the way they are. This is the 30. This is the 10. As you can see, breaking out of local highs. I'm giving you a better visual too, and you can actually believe the tweets that you're seeing here. These are the highest levels you've been at since 2007, the housing market crash. So important to understand that. We look here at 30-year, and you're pushing into higher levels of almost 2010, 2011, and then you're tracking back to 2007 once you break above this little bit of a level at 4.8. Important to realize there. And I do want to discuss a little bit. I'm not going to go heavy into this because this is just not the video or the setting to do this. But the housing market is not crashing, and I don't think it's going to crash. But there is a pretty big issue that you're seeing. You're seeing yields and overall home loans, the interest rates on this, sit at about 7%. It's sat at 7% for almost 6 weeks straight, going on the 7th right now. This is the longest streak that we've had rates this high going back to 2007, 2008, or a little bit after that little timeline there. So important to realize what's happening broad in the market, just mass slowdown. So even though we're seeing, you're going to see this, like I want to make this really clear. You're going to see bounces. Like if we just went straight down, it'd be really bad for the market. But a lot of you guys are just really bad to trade in general because then you'd be totally illiquid in both ways. And if you bounce, you'd go straight up and things like that. So the few things I want to add in here, if buyers were really showing up, and I can kind of show you why I don't think buyers are showing up in strength right now, I believe you would have at least filled the gap. Like that would have been easy. Like if we look at this volume on the day, again, 62 million on the day. It might be a little bit higher in the after hours. Let me refresh to make sure. Around 70 million now. So a little bit more coming in, but you can see we're flatlining and getting no upward pressure. A bulk of that volume, around 20 million, 25 million, came in the last 20 minutes of trading and then to the after hours. So understand that we traded around 50 to 40 million all day long on SPY. Very important to realize that. And a bulk of that action, a bulk of that volume was to the upside. So understand the same goes for the downside and to the upside. Now, do you have to have crazy volume to get movement? You do not. But when you're getting a reversal, typically you will see a spike in volume. Typically, especially on reversals. Now, it doesn't mean you have to have 120 million. You might see an abnormal amount, and you're just not seeing that right now. And again, when we look back at the 4 hour, what I say, when you see massive dropping, right, like you saw right here, this nice drop from 440 down to basically 428, 443, sorry, pretty illiquid in this zone. No, not a lot of liquidity here. But what I do want to add is when you get below 426 here on SPY, there's no liquidity down to 418. I'm going to be willing to bet you break 426. If that does happen, you can bet Tyler will be short in the market when that does happen. If I get that confirmed break, I'll be heavy short again. But understand though, I'm willing to bet right now with sellers in control, if you start to break these massive levels, it'll happen quick. And again, that just shows you the strength of either direction, buyers versus sellers. And those are important things to be keeping in the back of your mind, especially when you're trading, to know which side of the trade you're on and which side has the most momentum. Because typically you want to be on the side with the most momentum so you can get in and out of your trades efficiently and quickly. Okay, so those are a few things to realize there. And hopefully I jumped over that and you kind of understand everything that happened in there. Investing.com, you can go to PCE data. It's here. Just like shout out Charles Schwab. They know, 30K challenge, TOS, moving over to Charles Schwab. Anyways, so you can see this PCE, just type in PCE investing. It'll come up the first link. So you have it right here. Last was 3.3. Like I said, expected is going to be 3.5, higher than expected. So important to be watching that. And especially with what Powell has been saying there. And as well, I do want to highlight, government shutdown, a lot of negative things kind of across the board. Okay, a lot of negative things are being pushed across the board, and we're not looking fantastic, right? So I just want to say right now, again, you already know what's going to happen. When you're getting some of this chop, especially like this, days like this, I can show you. I love being transparent with you guys, right? So if you're saying, hey, if I join Discord, maybe I'll get a bunch of trade ideas. On the day here, I didn't signal anything. There's no big trade ideas, right? Now we gave you the watch list so you can see, what we're looking at, how we would trade, things like that. But there was no trade ideas in here. Just market rundowns of how I'm trading, what I'm looking at, right? But that's it. So I want to be really crystal clear that I'm not pushing out a bunch of trades. And when I say that I'm being patient, typically I am being honest. I try to be as honest as possible with you guys. I never want to lead you guys astray or think that I'm taking 30 different trades a day or nothing like that. I only trade when the opportunity, or I try to only trade, when the opportunity is in my favor, right? And I just don't think that I have an edge. I don't think I have a favor here. And so what we're looking at here is hopefully getting back below, getting back to making local lows and pushing back down, hopefully breaking 426. That's where you start to get the lineup of confirmation. Now, again, you look at ES and we look at what's happening here, I don't like it. I don't like this behavior down here. This is weak. This is not strong. Not good. You don't want to see this, right? So I do kind of suspect we might see an overnight session test of 4,400. Possibly 44.10, but besides that, I'm just not worth trading. And I continue to tell people in Discord, right? If you want to trade the upside, we have the levels, we highlighted them. We saw, Nvidia breaks 421, you're looking for 426 quickly, right? It's all in Discord, it's in the newsletter and stuff like that. But I'm just not interested in trading this chop. Like you see this action today, we gap down, come up, chop, back up. This just isn't smooth action. All this work for a bulk of the day, we sat between, 432 and 431. A bulk of the day. So if you're trading a $1 range on SPY, kudos to you. If that's what you like trading, That's not what I like trading. I like to have the edge at all points in time. So hopefully this is aligning, making a little bit of sense for you as well. I do want to pull a book map as well. I haven't done this in a while, and I've seen a lot of requests, and I don't want you guys to think I'm ignoring you as well. So we can look here, and what I do want to cover, and I've been really watching this, but it's just I haven't had a lot of information to track for you guys, and that's the biggest thing. So we had some icebergs this morning, and we saw some icebergs, I believe, on Friday as well, to the buy side. But there weren't very big, right? So it's even 600 lots, 400. This is a decent size orders, don't get me wrong, but they're not massive. We've seen the 2,000, 3,000, and those are the ones that really push a direction in the market. Now, we don't see anything until the end of the day above 1,000, and that's around 1,200 lots right here. So again, pretty indecisive back and forth, as you can see here, trending. The CVD was pushing up all day. So I will say, based on volume trading, was to the upside, right? But we weren't seeing a lot of love. We've seen when we get, a landslide of volume to massive buyers. And we can see, this is when we look at the volume on the day, we can see it was mostly trending to the upside. So when I look at that volume and I see it so low, it comes to the point of view for myself is just like, do I want to be trading on the side with less momentum? Now, again, you start to break over local highs here around 434, 435. Yeah, you might go try to fill the gap, play the gap at that point. But until then, I'm not trading the chop. I'm not getting crazy. There's no point. There's no reason. Now, let's go over a few of the equities that we like. Now, in particular, y'all know I love semis. It's been the name of the game over the past few days and weeks. So let's cover here. So NVIDIA is kind of in a no trade range for me. And something that I like to cover where I go wrong and make mistakes. Something that me and Jay did miss, primarily me. I don't want to speak for Jay. Doc in Discord, shout out to Doc. Sometimes you just got to call the doctor, right? So Doc, he said, hey, in case you guys don't know, he's doing some charting over the weekend. This is the beautiful thing of community is when you miss something and you're going to miss stuff. Me and Jay miss it all the time. NVIDIA is bouncing around the 100 daily moving average right there. Bounce, bounce, bounce. And you're bouncing off that. So what I will say is you're sitting at the 100 moving average on NVIDIA. You're finding support. That's why you're not haven't got that push down to 402 yet. But this makes me believe if you're bouncing here, in my opinion, I do believe personally, you're going to go straight through 400 if you break below the 100 SMA and we start to see a continuation selling on Nasdaq. But I still think you're kind of in a bear flag. But again, I'm not entering anything crazy like that. Being patient here. Confirmation is back below around 419. Back below 419, I think you can see easy move back into 415, 413 with ease. Above 419, 420, I think you're looking for 426, 425 locally right there. That's kind of the trade there. There's nothing really else for me. But again, I favor the downside. AVGO. I think you get some pretty good opportunities. I marked this out on Twitter and you've seen me post it in Discord and on here a lot. So you have to push down. Remember, we caught this move 50 points to the downside. Shout out Harambe, beautiful. Hey, love that. So anyways, you see that nice little push, great drop down out of that. Someone was saying, Tyler, what do I do with AVG? I'm like, dude, you dropped $40. I sold. Don't know what to tell you. You went right down to our target, right? So now you're retracing back into a 40, almost perfect touch, 838.5. Rejected immediately, $12 back to the downside and kind of chopping here, making lower highs from that. Very interesting to see. Gonna want to watch how AVGO plays out. If you're trying to trade this, I would have a little bit of time on your contracts. I'm not going to tell you what to buy, how to buy it. That's what I'd be looking at. Again, your stops slightly above 840, pretty tight when you get back into 838, 840 region. But that's what I'd be looking at there, 100%. Apple, I'm watching Apple very closely. You guys know we have about, I think, 100 shares of it in our 30K account. We grabbed a few Apple puts to hedge. So me and Jay were actually talking about this today. I will probably close Apple puts if you get back above 177. We've talked about this key level for a while. It goes way back and go look. What you're really looking for confirmation, I had to grab these over the weekend just to hedge our account with how heavy we are into Apple. So what you're looking for, we got December. I already posted all that on Twitter as well. You really want to see confirmation, and this is an example of entering before confirmation, right? So you want to see confirmation of breaking down below 174 or retest and pushing back down, right? That's what you want to see, right? Jay's going to rage. So that's what you want to see. Just push down, break. Once you get below 174 and hold, it's going to be quick. It's going to be easy. It's going to be like a Band-Aid ripping it off. That's what you want to see there. Okay. As far as other trades, people keep asking me about, Netflix and some of these others. As you look, you're going to see the broad kind of theme. Like nothing really looks strong. Like Netflix, granted, like you want to break to the upside here, but all in all, you bounce back on, Nasdaq and ES, but you're seeing no love on some of these equities. Like, I mean, you're up, $8 on maybe $8, $7 on Netflix. That's nothing. We go to Microsoft, you're below 320, very weak. Under 316, I mean, this is really, really, really weak, right? Meta is kind of holding up, but it's still, right at 300. Again, people keep saying I want to go long on Meta. I have no desire. I think Meta is one of the weakest looking charts that you held 304 and continue to reject back down. Confirmation here though is below 298. Under 298, you're looking for 294 and then 289. If you break in and you're lucky enough to be in a position under 289, you have a lot of weakness to the downside. So I would be watching out there as well. Again, but right now it's not to jump into a bunch of plays. It's not to get hyper aggressive. I have to see how we play out. I need to see where we're at on indexes. And of course, I need to kind of map out where we're going, right? We need to get more data. We need to see how the market's reacting. But as of right now, I don't think the market's reaction was very strong. The end of the day action was strong. I will say that was decent. It was the best action you had all day. But ultimately, holding throughout the day, very weak. I don't think it was strong. I think also the close on Friday was extremely weak across the board. But things to be thinking about, keep in the back of your mind. SPY, of course, on the daily, you are at demand. Understand that. You're right there. You break below this, you're very weak. On a deeper, bigger view here, though, ES breaking some pretty big levels. Nasdaq, borderline there as well. So again, things to think about, keep on your mind. If you have questions, comment down below. I recommend asking questions on Twitter as well because I'm posting so much stuff there, and I probably answered your questions before you even ask them. Have a good one, traders.